Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to talk about something that's going to be released today. It has to do with American history. There are parts of American history that are forgotten, that are overlooked, that are overshadowed. There are also parts of American history that are concealed, hidden away, because it's not something the United States as a country wants to acknowledge or remember. Back in June, the Secretary of the Interior commissioned a report that examined the federal government's role in boarding houses, boarding schools for indigenous children. The first volume of we don't know how many volumes of this report is being released today. If you are not familiar with these schools, just go ahead and brace yourself. This will be something that ends up alongside all of the great wrongs this country has committed in the past. I haven't read the first volume. I didn't get an advanced copy or anything like that. But I would hope that it draws attention to the 1819 Civilization Fund Act. It was an act that authorized the president to civilize the indigenous people in this country. It authorized him to instruct them in ways that might improve their habits and conditions, quote. What that really meant was there was money, there was federal funding to strip indigenous people of their identities, their culture, their spirituality, their hair, their names, and their families. These schools are pretty horrid. On top of everything else, you will hear about unmarked graves. You will hear about a lot of very tragic stuff. The point of this isn't just to go through American history and look at the bad things. The point is to hopefully get to a point where there could be some healing. Later, I want to say later this week, there will be a subcommittee hearing about some legislation to establish a commission to kind of get to the bottom of this and try to come up with some form of resolution and closure. It's going to be heavily modeled and based on the one that existed in Canada because they did the same thing there. So this undoubtedly will be something that gets talked about. There will be a lot of people who do not really want this to get any airplay, that don't want it talked about, certainly don't want it taught in schools, because it undermines the myth that has been created, that American mythology that so many people want taught in schools rather than American history. If we want a country that lives up to the promises, all of those promises set out in those founding documents, if we want to get to the point where those documents ever mean anything, we have to acknowledge stuff like this. We have to go through it. We have to understand it. We have to make sure it never happens again. These type of endeavors, they're not pointless. It's not just some historical survey. It's not something that is so long ago it doesn't matter. Understanding these types of actions and making sure that they don't happen again is what will shape this country. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.